Så vi lægger ud med, hvor vi ellers skulle have hørt vidnerne, anden forklaring. Så tager vi Anne Blake Tracy fra Arizona, og derefter så kommer vidnerne med anden forklaring. Så kommer danske eksperter og Peter Blaine.
So welcome. And this is Anne Tracy, and she's going to be talking to us for, a little half hour.
From Arizona.
Yeah, og hun vil fortælle om søvn og REM-søvn. I was just saying you're going to talk about sleep, REM, sleep, cortisone, stuff like that, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
I am Anne Blake Tracy, the head of the International Coalition for Drug Awareness. I'm the author of Prozac, Panacea or Pandora, Our Serotonin Nightmare. I have testified in court cases involving antidepressants for a little over 20 years. I have lectured and specialized on the effects of antidepressants for 23 years. The research on serotonin has been clear from the very beginning that the most damaging thing that could be done to the serotonin system would be to impair one's ability to metabolize serotonin. And yet that is exactly how SSRI antidepressants produce their effects, is by inhibiting the metabolism of serotonin. That is why they are called serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They inhibit the reuptake or metabolism of serotonin. And for decades, research has shown that when you impair someone's ability to metabolize serotonin, you produce migraine headaches, hot flashes, pains around the heart, difficulty breathing, a worsening of bronchial complaints, tension or anxiety, which come from out of nowhere, depression, suicide, especially very violent suicide, hostility, violent crime, arson, substance abuse, psychosis, mania, organic brain disease or brain damage, autism, anorexia, reckless driving, Alzheimer's, impulsive behavior with no concern for punishment, and argumentative behavior. Now, according to medical science, those should be the result of impairing serotonin metabolism. How anyone could have ever thought that that would be beneficial, it makes no sense. In fact, we have a whole new vocabulary here in America since these drugs have hit the market. We now have words like road rage, suicide by cop, murder-suicide, going postal, false memory syndrome, school shootings, bipolar. Almost every third person you meet anymore has a diagnosis of being bipolar. It seems so widespread. And then we have serious physical diseases as well as a result. Now, these are the things that should be expected according to medical research as a result of using drugs that will impair one's ability to metabolize serotonin. We used to have depressed people that would quietly slip away and take their own lives. Now we are seeing depressed people that instead kill everyone around them and then themselves. As a society, we once thought LSD and PCP were miracle medications. Now we understand that those medications do not have a large margin of safety in the use of human beings, but they are very dangerous drugs. All of these drugs, including the SSRI antidepressants, will produce dreaming during periods of wakefulness. That is called a REM sleep behavior disorder. I've spoken with the leading experts here in the United States who have found that the REM sleep behavior disorder, which is a condition in which the patient acts out their worst nightmare. They go into nightmare state and then begin to act it out. There's no paralysis during sleep. They have found that 86% of the patients they are diagnosing with this very dangerous sleep disorder are those taking antidepressants. We know that these drugs will impair or repress one's REM sleep. When you repress REM sleep, it will come back during the time when you're awake. And you instantly go into a dream state while you are awake, thus producing a condition in which you can act out what you are dreaming. And generally that is a nightmare. 80% of those who suffer REM sleep behavior disorder hurt themselves or someone else. Because in the past, this REM sleep behavior disorder was known mainly as a drug withdrawal state, I am very concerned about the withdrawal problems with SSRI antidepressants. Because it was a withdrawal state, and we are already seeing that 86 of those taking these drugs are the ones being diagnosed as having REM sleep behavior disorder. How high might it be in the withdrawal from antidepressants? There is a case going on at an inquest in the United Kingdom right now for an elderly woman attacked her close friend just stopped by her feet. She attacked her with a hammer, killing her. They have determined that she had skipped her dose of antidepressant, which most likely was the cause. She remembers little about it, and that is most likely because she had gone into a sleep behavior disorder. You cannot REM sleep and do so safely. Another problem in impairing someone's metabolism of serotonin is that it can produce psychosis, mania, along along with what I mentioned before, the problems with the repression of REM sleep. The dream state is something too critical to brain function to ever interfere with. We also see suicidal ideation along with the mania and bipolar. We know that antidepressants will trigger bipolar mania. Dr. Malcolm Bouts of Yale University found in the late 90s that over 200,000 people every year in America are hospitalized because of mania, a manic psychosis that is produced by antidepressants. He went on to point out that most of these cases go unrecognized by the doctor. They do not see that the antidepressant is what has caused the mania, and because of that, they are continuing to be treated with the drugs that actually cause the mania. And he said that is putting us in danger, leaving many out there in a manic state and it going unrecognized. There are many types of mania that we deal with. As you think about it, there are things such as pyromania, where they start fires, kleptomania, where they steal, embezzle. Dipsomania is a type of mania where you crave alcohol uncontrollably. Nymphomania is a condition in which you crave sex. We have problems here in America with female school teachers seducing male students, which we have never seen before. And yet, I have looked at those cases for almost 15 years and have found very few that were not taking antidepressants when this happened. So these are some of the problems we're seeing in society that we have not seen before, that I believe firmly we have enough information to show that these things are being caused, increased as a result of these drugs, leaving all of us to deal with the effects, because these effects in a patient are dramatic. Now, there are many physical effects from the increase of serotonin. We know that when serotonin is increased, that one thing that happens is that the cortisol level begins to increase. Cortisol, of course, a hormone within the body. It's often referred to as the death hormone because of the terrible effects it can have. But also, blood levels of cortisol are generally high when someone is depressed. Autopsies have also shown that the adrenal gland can be enlarged to commit suicide. And when you look at depressed patients, they also will show that their adrenal glands are harmed. Well, the increase in cortisol can produce that enlarged adrenal gland. So we know both that the enlargement of the adrenal gland and elevated cortisol are found in those who are depressed and commit suicide. And when you look at this, the elevated cortisol level can be a marker for depression. Elevated cortisol may even account for certain symptoms of depression as well. But Ialt, the makers of Prozac, did a study. That study was conducted by Petralia in Italy, and I can produce all this information for you. They found that one single 30 milligram dose of Prozac given to a patient who has never taken the drug before and does not take the drug again, but just one 30 milligram dose, double level of cortisol for that patient. Double the level. That's a huge increase in this particular hormone that has been linked to both depression and suicide. Cortisol has many other physical effects within the body. It has been implicated as well in many other mood disorders. We find that when cortisol is elevated, it can result in emotional instability, fluctuate from high range of euphoria to depression or full psychosis, as we find in mania. Increased cortisol produces insomnia, aggravation or irritability, decreased ability to handle stress, diabetes, decrease in glucose tolerance. It will produce hyperglycemia, which is diabetes, and fasting. Increased urine glucose levels, muscle weakness due to either potassium loss or metabolism of muscle mass, fractures due to decrease in bone mineral, retardation of growth, especially in children, edema, a protruding abdominal area, so that so many patients using these drugs with increased cortisol begin to appear pregnant, whether they're male or female, because the abdominal area becomes so distended. Girdle obesity, fluid retention around the face and the eyes, where you get a moon face like with steroid medications. They will also have slender arms and legs, fat deposits across the shoulders and around the waist, abdominal hair, abnormal hair growth, masculine features, masculine features become apparent in women, abnormal mammary gland function in men, which may even produce milk for them, peptic ulcers, capillary weakness due to protein loss, hypertension from sodium and water retention, increased production of androgen steroids, cortisol goes into excess, depressed immune system, suppressed inflammation response, which will mask severe infections so that they're not noticed, for wound healing, tissue wasting, purple styrate or stripes in the skin, calcium in the urine due to the bones being demineralized, increased excretion of potassium, and kidney disorder. Additional results for on-stress response, which is what you see with increased cortisol. It's an indicator that stress has gone up in the body. You will also find sleep disorder, such as the REM sleep behavior tried to mention that it's so dangerous. Panic attacks, anxiety, etc. And in the end, you will see severe fatigue. Because this elevated cortisol is evidence of both stress and depression, we know that the SSRI antidepressants do elevate both cortisol and prolactin. That has been in studies. Studies also demonstrate that serotonin levels correspond with the daily rise pattern of cortisol secretion. In fact, as we mentioned, the one single 30 milligram dose of Prozac doubles cortisol. I called an endocrinologist years ago and asked one how long the human body could tolerate having the cortisol level double on a daily basis. He said, "You can't do that." I said, "If you could do that, how long could the human body tolerate that?" He said, "Maybe a month, 2 months, possibly 3. Then he said, "Why are you asking me?" And I said, "Well, that is what one 30 milligram dose of Prozac taken daily can produce." He said, no, Prozac is a good drug. He had never heard of this study done by the makers of Prozac themselves. So I had to give him the research and the link so he could look at this study himself. Too many doctors remain completely unaware of the effects of these drugs because they have not seen through this research. In fact, I spoke with a doctor just last night who is in very serious withdrawal herself from the effects of going off Prozac a year ago. She cannot believe that she is still suffering as badly as she is when it has been over a year that she stopped taking only 10 grams of Prozac.
Wow, that's a...
There is more research that was done by Dr. Carson, which is very concerning to me. He is a professor of psychiatry and pathology at the University of Arkansas, and he, at that time, taught psychiatry at John McClellan Memorial Veterans Hospital. He was researching the issue of Prozac accumulation within brain tissue. And he found something that I believe should be very, very concerning to us all. He said that he found that the level of these drugs would accumulate. Prozac that he was looking at was accumulating in the brain tissue at a rate far higher than blood. And yet, doctors were testing blood levels to ensure that their patients were not toxic. He said blood levels tell you nothing. Because what is accumulating in the brain, according to his research, were levels that were 100 times greater. I have not seen any more research done on this particular aspect of these drugs. Dr. Carton said because of this accumulation of the drug in the brain, he would expect the withdrawal to go on for a very long time. The patient began to have adverse reactions to the drug, that those adverse reactions continue for a long period of time because the drug had accumulated within the brain itself. These are things that patients need to be made aware of. This research needs to come to light so that patients and their physicians also are joining with, also experiencing terrible disorders as a result of these drugs. Everyone needs to know this. Even the doctor who helped me adopt my dog years ago started on Prozac and began to gamble. And this was completely out of character for this man. He ended up shooting his wife and shooting himself. This is a man that I know would have never done such a thing had he not had access to this drug. And if he had had access to much of this information that so many times are difficult to find, I do not believe he would have ever taken this drug himself. So I would exhort you and leaders of every country, everywhere in the world, to look closer to these drugs that are in our society, having such incredible negative and long-term impact. We are only beginning to look at the birth effects that come from mothers using these drugs. They impact upon the children. And this, we know that autistic rates are almost 4 times greater. These children are being born with terrible problems, failure, with lung problems as well. Same type of lung problems that came from the serotonergic diet pills, fen, and Redux. And we need to look very seriously at the physical effects that are produced by forcing the increase of both serotonin and cortisol within the bodies of human beings. I commend you for opening your minds and looking at the serious problem that faces our society today. And I thank you very much. If there are questions, I would be more than happy to address.
Super. Well, people will say them in Danish, and I'll translate them for you if there are any questions. So you can't.
Er der nogen, der har spørgsmål til Anne-Plæk Tracy?
There you are. So,
Hello.
can you hear him, Anne?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation of this, the biochemistry of the various adverse and side effects. Do you have any explanation of the biochemistry behind those patients that claim that these pills work for them?
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Most of the patients I run into that claim the pills work for them are those that have not yet suffered the side effects, or they are patients that have attempted to withdraw from these drugs, and when they have done so, they have come off of them too quickly, producing very serious withdrawal, at which point they are told their depression or their disease is returning and they must start back on the drug to stop it. What it stops is the withdrawal itself. Those patients are scared. They're scared to death to ever be forced into a position where they will have to come off of the drug. I can give you one experience that I had early on. A woman called me after I had done a radio show on these medications, and this was years ago. She said, "How dare you say the things that you are saying about Prozac? Without this drug, I don't know what I would do. It has saved my life." She told me she had been on it for 4 years.
Sorry, 4 or 40?
4 years at that point. So I listened to her. She told me about her very religious background, that she and her husband had been married for 8 years and wanted a child so badly, and finally had a little girl. And they were so excited about that. The little girl had been born about 6 years before she started on the drug. So as she spoke, I continued to ask her if she had experienced various reactions to the drug. As she learned more about what the reactions were, she began to understand a little bit more. Anyway, a half an hour into our conversation, with me asking her various things she might have experienced, she finally said, "Well, it does really bother me that I started shoplifting and I have my 11-year-old daughter helping me." She said, "I was shopping the other day and I even tried to put the tarp into my trunk." And you could hear the little girl in the background saying, "Mommy, Mommy," because she knew that her mother could be in trouble for telling me that she was shoplifting. And so she had the little girl leave the room, and then she cupped her hand over the phone and she said, "Isn't it terrible? I don't want her anymore." And I said, those feelings that you are having are caused by the drug. You cannot feel the love that you had for her before because of the anesthetizing effect of these drugs. And I said, until you wean off of the drug, you will not have those feelings you had for this beautiful little girl return. You know what she said? She said, "I cannot afford to lose my job." And she said, "Can I go off of this drug without the horrible withdrawal?" So she had attempted the withdrawal before and was defending the drug because she was so scared of going back into that, even though she was having such terrible reactions that were completely opposite of her life before. So I apologize for such a long answer, but people need to know what is going on in the lives of these people. I have listened to them for 23 years. I cannot tell you the pain and suffering so many of them are going through, even though they defend these drugs because they are so frightened of going into the terrible withdrawal that comes from them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. There was one more question, and then I think...
Bente?
Yeah, yes, Bente.
Ja, kom op her, Bente.
So, she's just getting the microphone. Yes. There you are. This is Bente.
Hello, and Blake Tracy. Do you remember me, Bente from Denmark?
I do.
Yeah,
You can tell him how terrible the withdrawal is.
Yes, and I'm still in withdrawal, and it's get worse again. Now I feel a lot of autism. You know the condition. I really suffer from this feeling of not being in the world, like I'm just inside myself and everything is dead. It gets worse again. I would like to know your advice against it one more again, because yes, it's terrible.
Well, it is good that you bring up that effect, because that is something that I should have addressed. These drugs that we are calling antidepressants, in my opinion, from the scientific research that we have, should be classed as dissociative anesthetics. Those are anesthetic medications that will anesthetize a patient, and I have brainwave patterns of a patient on these drugs that shows that as they are talking to you, they are in an anesthetic sleep state. The brain is in an anesthetic sleep state and dreaming while they are conversing with others. These drugs, the dissociative anesthetics, are those that keep you up and talking and looking like you're awake when you're really under anesthesia. And these are the kinds of things I hear from patients as they try to come off of these drugs. They say they feel like they're coming out from under anesthesia, or they're deep sea diving and slowly coming to the surface. It takes a very long time to feel real again, to feel as though you are part of the world. They have a very strong anesthetic effect. The problem with that is we have seen drugs like this in the past. In America, those drugs are called PCP, or angel dust. Bencyclidine is the chemical name. Ketamine is another one. These are drugs that knock the brain out or anesthetize the brain but keep the body moving. We learned a long time ago that those are very dangerous drugs. And Bente was still looking for answers as to what you can do other than wait for that effect to wear off. I wish we had more research. I wish we had more answers, because there are too many going through exactly what you are going through.
Well, thank you very, very much. And
Thank you, and thank you for helping.
yeah, Esbeth just wants to say thank you.
Thank you, Anne Blake, and thank you for helping Bente also. I know you have helped her a lot of times. Thank you very much.
And yeah, you better. and sleep well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.